Hello and welcome back. My name is Peter Flores and you're watching The Young Project. This month we're talking about pacifism. Before I start, if you haven't listened to the podcast or read the blog, I encourage you to do so. They aren't super long. You can listen to the podcast on your commute to work or your walk to class in pieces, and you can read the blog. If you can do that before you watch this video, that'd be great. If not, no worries, dive in, let's go on this journey together. So again, this month our topic has been pacifism. So Nick and Tommy have already spoken on the podcast specifically, talking a little bit about war and how much it permeates our lives. An interesting thing that they mentioned that I thought was crazy was if you're born after a certain year, I think the year was 2001, that the US has been at war your entire life. And to me that's crazy. It doesn't seem right? In my mind. And so Tommy and Nick, they dove in a little bit deeper into what that means to them personally, and also what the response of someone who follows Jesus or cares about Christianity should have. Specifically, the response that someone should have towards taking another human life. And so far, pacifism, as the Young Project has defined it, is basically this: nonviolence and preventing violence. There are tons of examples of a pacifist ideology in history and even today. Think about people like Mahatma Gandhi in the Indian independence from the British Empire. Think of Martin Luther King Jr. during the Civil Rights Movement in the United States. And think about the nonviolent protests happening in Hong Kong and even in Chile. And while these aren't perfect examples, since in some cases violence happens on either side in history, these people and events can offer some guidelines to a pacifist ideology. The root of a religious perspective on pacifism would come from the Bible, the law prohibiting murder, and the ideologies promoting kindness to all people at all times. From that same religious perspective, some specific groups have found ways to justify certain violences, even to the extent of war, seeing war as something inevitable. And at the same time, some people in those same or different groups have found ways to justify nonviolence in places like war. Take conscientious objection, for example. It's where you go into service in some armed force and you basically be an unarmed force in that armed force, doing no violence because you refuse to hold a firearm or weapon on the basis of a religious or moral ideology. Thinking about this from a non-religious perspective, you could just Google pacifist philosophy and spend 10 hours or 10 years, because in that pacifist philosophy you can find a plethora of lenses from which to look at pacifism specifically. Since in the podcast and even in the blog, Tommy and Nick have both dove in deeper in Christian philosophy and talking about what that would look like, I thought I'd give some actionable steps or actionable ideas that we could take from the topic of pacifism. Pacifism seeks for peace. That's the ideal. That's my personal ideal. That's where I want to be. So I want to talk to you about what you can do wherever you are to promote nonviolence, to promote peace. So here are some super basic, easy, simple ways for you to be a part of promoting peace. Helping people. Yeah, it's an umbrella term for pretty much any little thing you can think of. Taking a little extra time from your day and putting in a little bit of effort to make someone else's day a little bit better. So this could be anything from helping an old lady cross the street to helping a friend move or putting a shopping cart back where it belongs. On the specific subject of shopping carts, you've heard it said, it's not my job to put that shopping cart back. But I am saying to you, a little goes a long way.
I save somebody maybe 5 or 10 seconds by putting my cart back. And if everybody did it, it's collectively a little bit more time that person saves, or less time that they have to spend outside in the cold. And I think that's worth it.
Another thing, sharing food. And maybe you can share that specifically with the people you care about, or, if given the opportunity, those who don't have as much as you do. Now, as you're staring at the food or the friends that are in front of you on the screen. Maybe you're thinking, all right, Peter, this has gone a different direction. What does anything here have to do with peace or pacifism?
Thanks.
Well, here's my idea and here's what I think.
Yep.
Peace is difficult to attain for many people. Look at our country, look at the countries around the world, look at the governments around the world, how tumultuous have the last 26 years been. And I'm saying 26 years because that's how old I am, and that's the lens that I'm looking through. Think about taking a bite of delicious food, sitting comfortably and enjoying good company. That to me seems like at least a piece of the peace that I'm trying to promote and give to people. So my idea is this: find opportunities to give people moments like that in their life. You in your life specifically, wherever you are, whatever context you live in, you might have some extra pieces of peace to give to people. So with that being said, I invite you to choose your own ways of spreading nonviolence and promoting peace actively by doing something and not just being passive about it. In the grand scheme of things, you are still helping to reduce violence, and that, my friends, is pacifism in action. Thanks for watching.